Welcome to the Stickers on the Mic podcast, brought to you by StickerGiant.com, where we talk with our customers about how they started their business, how they're marketing their brand, and how they're growing their company. Without further ado, it's time for the Stickers on the Mic podcast from Sticker Giant. Let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to Stickers on the Mic. Thank you for joining us today. Very happy to be dialing in Tisha McCoy-Ntiamoah from PrePOPsterous, which is, as you can see on the screen if you're watching, absurdly flavorful gourmet popcorn. Tisha, thank you so much for joining Sticker Giant. I can't tell you how happy I am to have you here.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me. Looking forward to the chat.
Nice. So we're going to talk popcorn, which I'm very excited about. We're going to talk branding. We're going to talk trademarking. But I want to start just with the story of today, which is not just your stickers and labels, but you were very gracious, and you actually emailed podcast@stickergiant.com.
Yeah.
Which, for those of you out there listening, it's we've asked you to do this before. We're going to ask you to do it again today, and we're going to share a really successful connection here that Tisha emailed and gave us an amazing pitch, and really just couldn't pass up the opportunity to talk to you. And it's, well, what brought you to being what you call yourself now, the chief popcorn enthusiast? Like, how do you end up in life? By the way, we had a popcorn movie last night for my youngest birthday, and popcorn, the whole thing, how do you get to being the chief popcorn enthusiast?
Yeah. So wait, before we go there, let me start by saying I almost did not respond to the post that you all made. So I got here because you talked about the pitch in the email. I got here because I sent that pitch. But when I first saw the post a few weeks ago, I looked at it and I was like, surely they're not looking for people like me. So I didn't respond. And then there was something that just kind of kept nagging in my brain. And I said, let me go back and find that post. And I sent an email with my pitch, not expecting a response, quite honestly. And then I got your response within half an hour, I think it was, and I was so shocked. So, it just goes to show when you put yourself out there, anything can happen. But as far as how I got to be a chief popcorn enthusiast and having my own brand, PrePOPsterous, the story is kind of, I think, pretty epic. I started my very first job in life in high school was working in a gourmet popcorn store in the Midwest, and where I grew up. And I loved everything about it. Nobody's ever angry or upset or has a bad experience with you serving them gourmet popcorn and sodas. So I said from that moment, I was like, one day I want to own my own popcorn company. And that was late 90s, just to give you context. I graduated high school in 96. So I shouldn't even say late 90s, like early mid 90s. I was in high school 92 through 96. And back when you answered a help wanted ad in the paper, I lost your audio.
Oh, sorry. Hey.
Yeah. There you go.
That's awesome. No big deal. We can cut that. So that's awesome because I grew up, I graduated in 98. And so I can vividly recall eating popcorn in movie theaters where my friends worked in high school. And, technology was very different.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So, I loved it. I loved everything about it. And I said, one day I want to have my own company. That dream just kind of stuck with me all through college and in my first career. And in college, I went to business school. So when you graduate from business school, particularly in that time frame, you were going to work for a Fortune 500 company.
Right.
As opposed to today, kids are graduating from business schools and they're encouraged to go out and start their own entrepreneurial endeavors. So I went to work for Hershey. It was either Hallmark or Hershey, had offers from both of them. Right. Went to do sales for Hershey for a couple of years and learned a lot about branding then. And then went back to grad school to go back and work on a college campus. And all through this even with my career, I was always searching for that feeling that I had when I served people popcorn from high school. That feeling has stuck with me throughout all these years. And when I got here to the Shenandoah Valley, I got connected with the Small Business Development Center because I still had that dream of starting my own popcorn company. I tried to franchise the companies in the Midwest, and none were interested in. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start my own brand, and I'm going to start small, and I'm just going to build it over years. And that's what I've done. Nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, good perseverance and all that. Yeah, I'm from Chicago. I get it. The Midwest. Where in the Midwest?
So my family's originally from the Chicago area, so the Great Lakes Naval Base area. Yeah. But I grew up in Kansas City most of my life. So, between the two, there's some great popcorn brands between those two cities. So, Garrett's is the favorite in Chicago. I'm more of a Nuts on Clark fan.
Oh, there you go.
There's some good popcorn there.
That's just interesting because, brands are one thing, and then starting your own brand is another. And your comment on the changing culture of business schools is true. For sure, entrepreneurship is very much the preferred kind of. Well, it's not the preferred, but it's marketed heavily as something that is an option. I guess is more that. And thank you for reminding me of the soda component too, because you got the sweet and savory, then you got the liquid refreshment too. So that's kind of fun. And the Virginia, that's kind of your, you say on the site, like it all starts in the Valley, and where you source your kernels themselves, and doing that local play. So how did you develop, I don't want to go right to developing the best popcorn kernel, but you had to develop the brand and then you trademark it and you got the fun language of absurdly flavorful. What did it take to get to the point of that amazing logo behind you?
Yeah, the branding piece is a great story. So I, by the time I launched my company in fall of 2015, I had a name in mind for the past 7 years because I got connected with the Small Business Development Center in 2007 and had been planning, just making notes all throughout for 8 years of what I wanted my company to be like, what products I wanted to sell, what I wanted the customer experience to be like. And by the time I launched, the name I wanted, someone had trademarked a year and a half before I launched. It was heartbreaking.
Oh, you're just that was 10 years. That was 10.
Right. So I got with a great graphic designer, and he was kind enough to connect me to a copyright person, a copywriter. And I said, here are my rules. It has to be one word. It has to be whimsical, and it has to have pop prominently featured toward the center of it. And we went through, I remember it was 4 rounds and there were about 300 options he cranked out. Wow. And it was in round 3, because in round 4, I was ready to give up. I said to my graphic designer, I was like, I don't think he's it. I don't think he gets what I'm trying to do, but let me go back and look one more time. And I went word by word. And it was in the 3rd round. And that is the story of PrePOPsterous.
That's awesome. So you've had this idea for a while, but then you talked a little bit too about deciding early on, how did you then invest in the IP and the trademarking? What were the steps to do that? Because that seems sort of Byzantine and complicated, and the rules and all that stuff. How did that all play into that?
Yeah. So one of the reasons I did it, because most people will tell you, just get your company up off the ground and running, because investing in your IP is an investment. It's expensive. But I knew I never wanted that feeling to happen that I had with the company name that I thought I would have, that, mentally I had committed to all those years. And I knew I wanted to sell across states, and I knew I didn't want there to be any brand confusion. So I wanted to own the categories of gourmet sodas, and popcorn in the snack foods category. And so that's why I made the decision early on to invest in my IP. And it was expensive. I actually ended up going with an attorney. So I did some of the initial research on my own to realize that PrePOPsterous wasn't taken, which is great. And one of any trademark attorney will tell you one of the best things you can do for your brand is if it's a word that doesn't exist or is not a real word, that will help you. And so PrePOPsterous is unique because it's not a real word. And a lot of people can't then say PrePOPsterous, which is the actual word, once you say PrePOPsterous. So it really does become kind of like an earworm.
It is. That's always, I've been prepping since I, got the email, like PrePOPsterous. I have to like keep saying it over, and like, I love words. They're my, I write and this is my job. But yeah, PrePOPsterous is so fun. It just rolls off the tongue really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that. So yes, that's good too. Like if you can invest in and or consult legal counsel, you probably should.
Absolutely.
And you get to use the little R right there, and you got the pop. Like, so just to illustrate this a little bit better, capital PRE, caps POP, lowercase sterous, right? PrePOPsterous.
Right.
Like you really emphasize. Did you think about going lowercase p?
I did not. And one of the plays there is that some of the other product lines, I knew I wanted to go into gourmet sodas, right? So when I first launched, I was only online, an online retailer, and you can't ship sodas, or I couldn't, I wasn't bottling. Okay. But I knew that eventually I would add sodas. So there's a slight rebrand, and this is an old logo, but the S is now red as well, and in all caps because of pop. So you got soda pop and popcorn.
Oh, pops.
So it's like a play on words there and some alliteration.
Okay, so the logo will have a red S. I see what you're saying, because you have a P and it's on red, and black, red, and white are like the core colors. Anyone who knows about graphic design and color study, like in the news, which is my background, like you get black and white, black letters on white, but then red is like your signifier. So and there's red everywhere here too. So I love red. And
there's science behind red in food. It stimulates the appetite. And so there is some color psychology out there. So I would say for anyone that's deciding to invest in their brand in a major way, make sure you understand the color psychology. If you think about all the major food brands, they all have red in them.
No, I know. As soon as you started saying that, that's what I thought of.
Yeah.
So we've covered quite a bit about like the high level, but like honestly, at the end of the day, local ingredients, very delicious, all that stuff. Flavors.
Yeah.
Like let's talk. Like this is a food product. Like these are flavors. You have flavors of soda. You have flavors of popcorn. Like how do you develop them? Where did you start? Like I have so many questions, but let's start about like the first flavor.
Okay, the first flavor was probably caramel. Caramel and cheddar, because they're pretty common popcorn flavors. Then there's cinnamon, which is like cinnamon red hots melted all over popcorn. Okay. There's chocolate, which tastes like Cocoa Puffs.
Okay.
There's on the savory side, there's spiked cheddar, which is a sriracha cheddar, which is actually in retail is one of our top sellers.
Really?
People think it's going to be really spicy, but it's not. It's got a kick to it, but it's very flavorful is the best way I can describe it. In some ways I say anything savory that you can put on a potato chip, I can put on popcorn.
Okay.
It's probably the easiest way to describe it. But then
like wasabi, you have wasabi.
Wasabi.
That looks good. I like that. That's speaking to me right now.
And our signature holiday flavors, gingerbread, peppermint, and pumpkin spice are all flavors that are our signature flavors. I mean, the gingerbread, I worked on that recipe it took batches and batches to perfect it. And I'm one of those persons, when I am working on a recipe, I don't put it out to the public unless I feel like it's perfect. So it takes me a while. Sure.
I just noticed the absurdly windy city. That speaks to me, obviously. Chicago. But no, you got the mixed stuff. You've got, like you said, holidays is good to like break it down. So this is a big range, right? You play with a pretty big palette of flavors.
I do.
So how did you like come up with those then? Like what does the development process look like?
So all of them, especially the candy coated ones, they start with a base mix. Vanilla is our base mix, and that's it's something that we source from another company, and then we layer all of our own flavoring on top of that. And so it is playing with spices. It's looking at what's trending in food flavors. It's looking at who can we partner with, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when I talk about the soda side.
Okay.
But it's just infinite. And it's funny because growing up, I wasn't a kid that was creative artistically, right. But I find so much so much of a creative outlet with making popcorn. And it's just a challenge of, can I capture the essence of a flavor on a kernel?
That's awesome. That's great. Like you found your palette, like you got to find your medium. You can't, it's a long journey, right? Like learning what you like. And also now you have branding, so you work within the structure of that too. So like you can be like creative within a system, which always kind of helps, especially when you're clearly a creative person. Like a system is important. Like, how do we then bring in the soda part of this? Like, where does that all fit in? I mean, other than you need to drink something, salty food, whatever. Mm-hmm. How do it's a choice to like add a thing to your brand.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you have popcorn. Why wouldn't you have something to wash it down with? You gotta get those kernels out somehow.
Right. Exactly. So like, obviously you need a drink, but like, what is it? That just is a whole nother thing. It's liquid.
It's a whole nother thing. So, the soda side, I needed to be in retail, right? And so last year the pandemic hit, and I didn't know that a retail opportunity just kind of presented itself. And I said no a couple of times, and then the owner kept saying, just think about it. So I said yes. And I said yes because I knew the only way to launch my next product which was sodas, was to get into retail. So at retail, these are all fresh squeezed, made to order drinks. So I've got limeades, and it's classic limeade, cherry limeade. I do a ginger orange juice, which I make the ginger syrup myself.
Oh, wow.
And in my retail location, it's a marketplace. So there's 6 other vendors there. And one of them brings in Florida oranges. She has them. They come up on a truck. They're picked one day, they're on a truck the second day, and on the third day they're in our coolers. And so I partner with her and use her oranges to make the ginger orange juice. And it has been the most popular drink so far this season. And it's just, there's just a creative license there. She was bringing in oranges, and I said, hey, I wonder what a ginger orange juice would taste like. And right there on the spot, I tried it and it worked.
So you have a signature flavor right off the bat. So you have these 2 retail locations. Well,
we have one, and then we wholesale into the other. I think the other one you're referencing is the brewery. We wholesale into that brewery.
Oh, nice. Got it. So you can find PrePOPsterous there, but where you're in person is at this North River Marketplace there in Bridgewater.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. Cool. So you have this. Is that one of those things where there's like multiple? Is it a collective space or something like that? What is it? Yeah,
it's a collective space. I mean, I have a defined counter space, just because I have a popcorn bar and I have a soda bar. But it's pretty open air. Customers can come in and they can shop any of our retail stations, if you will, and check out at one counter if they want to, or they can, if they're just buying popcorn, they can check out at my counter. So it's a very collaborative space. It's, I love it. It's 100% women-owned businesses in there. And we just have a really great time supporting one another and, when possible, using each other's products.
Right. Yeah, I see that now. So the yourdinner.com world there, that whole website, that's fun. So you get to see people in person, because that's a great way to sell.
Yes.
There's nothing like, well, for some people, they don't want to do that, but I do enjoy talking about what we do and what, it's just fun. The in-person sales experience is a totally different mental state. So
yes. And kids love watching us make our sodas. Yeah. They love it when they say they want an orange juice, and I say, well, you get to go pick your oranges. Go right over there to that cooler.
That is really fun.
It's so much fun. And then they watch me cut them up and juice them for them. So it's fun. Really neat.
That's actually really rad. Really cool. was I going to say about that though? So you're really leaning on the orange. Do you do like a carbonated soda, or like how does that, like what?
Yeah, we have a carbonation station on our soda bar. And so we top it off. We say we top it off with fizz. So do you want fizz? Or do you just want it straight up?
Fizzed.
Fizzed.
Yeah. Fizzed or straight up?
Fizzed or straight up. And what's also fun is that when we make it, particularly the limeades, we shake it up like a martini. So I actually use a Boston shaker. Yeah. Because the truth is, the one job I never got to do that I always wanted to do was be a bartender. So I just took all of that energy and figured out how to work it into the soda bar. So I shake it up. The ginger syrup is measured with a jigger that you would find on a bar. So it's a lot of fun.
Oh my God, I can't wait for this future road trip. This is going to be amazing.
Yes.
So good for you. And way to, like, when you're talking the COVID thing too, like, I mean, obviously people had a lot of trouble this year, and there's stories all over the place. But you went into retail during this time. Is that
I did.
Yeah, that's wild.
I did.
When did you start doing that? Was it before, March or whatever of last year, or during?
That was October. So I opened my counter October 22nd of last year.
2020. Okay, so we're kind of moving towards the.
Mm-hmm. So I haven't even been open 6 months at this retail location.
Well, that's great. Well, hopefully you keep going that. But that wasn't part of your original plan.
It was not. My original plan was retail. I almost signed a lease October of 2019 for a retail location, and something happened. It didn't work out. And I remember being devastated that it didn't work out. But then COVID hit, and I thought, my goodness, divine intervention. I'm glad it didn't work out.
Yeah, that's good.
And then kind of on the other side of that, around July, I got presented with this opportunity to go into retail in a more collaborative space where the risk was lower. And the opportunity was greater in terms of customer traffic, because not only would it be about my counter being a destination for my customers, but how many more customers could I capture because I'm in a market space with 5 other businesses.
Right, exactly. Especially somewhat simpatico businesses, which is good. So you've done a lot, obviously, there in your region. I know you were talking a little bit before we started rolling about this SWaM-certified business of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Talk a little bit about what SWaM means and what's that meant to sort of your whole approach.
Sure. So SWaM stands for Small Women and Minority-Owned Business. And in the Commonwealth of Virginia, you can get a designation for that. And it's helpful for smaller businesses, minority-owned businesses that want to. It's primarily a state designation for people that want to do business with the state. Right. So when there's RFPs and things of that nature, you get a little bit more of a look or a focus on your application because you are SWaM certified. And so it does help the small and women and minority-owned businesses have access to some opportunities that otherwise they may not, because they are smaller normally. So it's been a good designation for me, in particular in COVID times, and some of the statistics of minority-owned businesses that have failed as a result. A lot of businesses have failed, but minority businesses have failed at a disproportionate rate.
Totally.
And I shouldn't say failed. They've gone out of business just because of the pandemic. They didn't do anything to fail.
It's not a failure. It's not a failure, but like it goes underneath that number, unfortunately, where it's like successful or failed, but it's more like, and I've had people on the show in the last couple of years that are not in business anymore. So women, ironically, women owned, but like, it's not a great statistic that we want to celebrate. No. So anything that you can do to like curtail that for yourself is important.
Right. And that designation helped in the midst of COVID, because a lot of people were looking to intentionally support minority-owned businesses. And so people were looking to identify who's a minority-owned business out there that I can support. And that did work that benefited us to some degree.
Yeah, there's a big push to support all kinds of small businesses, but those owned by people of color. What I'm very interested in the way they like talk about, like, it's the Department of Small Business and then supplier diversity, which is an interesting thing, because like you have to get your packaging and align your business then with like the rest of the structure, because you want to be in the system and work the system and make the system better. You know what I mean?
Yes.
In some way, because you have to get your boxes and your kernels and your labels. Hi. Yes. You know what I mean? Like
right back there.
But you know what I mean? Like, so that just like there's some, it probably is a good resource, and it also helps you align like philosophy and principle, which people, you know, to zoom out a little bit, of course, it's important to support these SWaM type things all around the country, but then it's also, you know, important to highlight small businesses and find a way to work with people that are aligned to your sort of business philosophy.
Sure. And the resources. So behind that supplier diversity organization is not just SWaM, but when I built out this factory, I needed some capital for the equipment that I needed to purchase to increase my production capacity. And that office, that department had a loan program that I was able to benefit from. And so there's all these resources that if you become SWaM certified, in most states, they link you to other resources. So the SWaM piece is like the spoke of the center of the wheel. And then that office, you know, has spokes out into other resources that are really crucial for small businesses.
That's fun. That's great. And it's good that you're able to use that. Well, goodness. I mean, you do the home-based business, kitchen, all that, factory. Now you have a retail space. You said you built another factory. Like, what kind of, there's that path. What's next on the path?
What's next on the path is a standalone production facility and retail potentially with the opportunity for retail if we want to go that way. We're very happy at the marketplace and want to stay there as long as we can fit within the footprint that we have. But we need to get into automation, packaging automation, so in distribution. And so to be able to have a broader distribution than just our local area, I need to figure out packaging automation. If I want to distribute the sodas, I need to figure out bottling. So there's a lot of things to still figure out, but also there's other product lines. I can't say what they are, but there's some other product
we
lines.
Always get to that point of the talk, and it's like you'll launch your thing.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to talk the more logistics and strategy, because that's kind of what is most. It's great that you're going to come. I figured you got a new product. I'm not going there. But it's interesting to talk about automation and when you're talking about that facility too. We used to have a really fun tour program here, you know, and it's kind of suspended right now. We'll bring it back eventually. You get to see Saw, the world's largest sticker ball. I've done some like a candy factory here in Denver. You go to their tour. Do you have that kind of experience? People loved, like you said, watching the soda get made. Do you offer that?
Only at the counter. What they see, you know, they can see me filling their tin. They can see me filling a bag of popcorn or making their soda. But I'd like to as I grow production, I like, you know, them to be able to see the popcorn kernels as it comes out of the big popper, you know, and
like the thing that puts all the coating on it.
Yeah. Put it, you know, the tumbler there. So I'd love for customers to see some portion of that.
Yeah. Just a little window.
Yeah. Just a little window to see different stages of the popcorn would be fantastic. And so I hope we can get there one day. But it's slow and steady. I'm still early, newer.
I know.
It'll be 6 years, but I do have big dreams. And the one thing about being an entrepreneur is I do have to slow myself down and say,
there you go.
It's only been 6 years. Oprah built, her media empire it was 25 years before she got her own network. So I have to think about it in context.
Totally. That's awesome. Gosh, we've covered some ground. This has been so fun. Tisha, thank you so much for reaching out.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just so fun to share this story. And I love popcorn. And like I said, I mean, popcorn movie, that's like my favorite thing in the world is popcorn movies. So, and it's cool that like you were doing this early on in high school. Like this was something you wanted to follow through on. So, I mean, way to like see it through. I think that's pretty
impressive. I'm glad I did it. I wish I would give anything to live in today's times with college students that are graduating, because they are encouraged to start their own businesses. And that just wasn't something that was a part of my college experience. And so I'm coming to this as a 40-something-year-old, starting a business and launching into this entrepreneurial endeavor after 15 years in higher ed and a few years in sales for Hershey USA. So, everything happens for a reason. And there are a lot of skills in both of those two careers that I bring to this and that has helped me grow PrePOPsterous. So everything happens in its due time.
PrePOPsterous growth. What a good story. We appreciate you so much. And everyone who's out there listening, you can head online. If you're in the region, you can, of course, head to the North River Marketplace.
The North River Marketplace, yeah.
But the PrePOPsterous.com site will get you these amazing flavors. This Windy City mix, I have to say, again, as a kid who grew up in Chicago. But the wasabi might be the one that jumps off the page to me. I'm interested in that. I love the savory. It's so good. And can continue developing delicious things for people. Absurdly flavorful things, excuse me.
Absurdly flavorful.
Last thing before we go, that part, how did that tagline come together?
Because when you look at the synonyms for PrePOPsterous, the actual word, absurdly, is one of them. And so
it's in the family.
It's in the family. So I actually trademarked that. So I hold 4 trademarks. PrePOPsterous for sodas and popcorn, and then absurdly for sodas and popcorn as well. And then as we roll out new products, we'll go
brand them accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so cool. PrePOPsterous and absurd. PrePOPsterous, like you said, you can't say it. I was trying to say PrePOPsterous and absurd are two fun words in your brand language and tone, which we talk a lot about here, brand tone and brand voice. Those are just fun words to have in the tool belt, right?
Yeah.
Good.
And it's been so awesome to partner with Sticker Giant on my labels. I have die cut custom labels, and I've been ordering from you all since almost the very beginning. And I love my labels. People love the labels. It's just something that they say when they look at my branding, they're like, wow, this is really well done. And I think it's the difference between, for anyone that's thinking about their branding, why the packaging matters and why the visual piece matters so much. It's the difference between somebody paying $2 for a bag of popcorn versus being able to command close to $6 for a bag of popcorn. People will pay for brand.
That's very
because it's part of the experience, right? The brand, how it's presented to you, that's all a part of the experience. And I often say people pay for experiences, not necessarily just a product.
Right. I mean, it's got to be good. It's got to be, in your case, absurd.
Yeah, it's got to be good.
Absurdly flavorful.
It's worth it, every bit.
There you go. Yeah, deliver on the promise. Well, that's a thank you for that. We appreciate that, and we can't wait to see what happens next. So,
well, thank you.
All right, folks. Tisha McCoy-Ntiamoah from PrePOPsterous, popcorn and sodas, gourmet popcorn and sodas. And we're going to be following this story. Tisha, thank you for joining us. Everybody else out there, we say it every time. Every sticker has a story. This time, it's absurdly flavorful popcorn and soda. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time for Stickers on the Mic. That wraps up this episode of Stickers on the Mic, brought to you by StickerGiant.com. You can download us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcatcher. Thanks again for listening to Stickers on the Mic. We'll see you next time.